Looks like the UPS strike is not going to be a strike. If you missed that memo, it's important because huge impact on the economy in this country.
And some huge increases for those part-timers, too.
So win-win, maybe? Win for us, win for them?
I think so.
Alumni professor at the School of Labor and Employment Relations and College of Law is joining us. University of Illinois, right? Yeah, Michael LeRoy? I believe I'm right about that. Well, we can actually ask Michael. Michael, University of Illinois, yes?
Yes. Good to join you, Steve.
Well, thanks for being on. We appreciate it. Obviously, this is good news. Are you surprised at the settlement?
Well, I'm surprised they got the deal done without a strike because the Teamsters had prepared for a strike and they made loud noises about going on strike. I was privately concerned that they were painting themselves into a corner. The agreement is really impressive. It raises, as you mentioned, part-timers significantly. They're at $16 at the base. It'll move them up to $21 over the life of the contract. The people at the top end, the full-time workers, will go from $42 to $49 an hour over the life of the contract. So, Steve, we're looking at a contract that will pay a significant number of people over $100,000 in an industry that typically doesn't reward that kind of work.
Now, we do have to pay for that, and I assume we'll be paying for that.
Higher rates.
I assume you're right, too. I'm sure you're right about that. And so it is what it is. I would just say I think UPS already is a preferred employer in the industry, and I would think that this contract will serve as a magnet for them. They're hiring. They agreed to hire 7,500 new full-time workers. They're going to shift people over from part-time, but they've got a hiring sign out, and everybody does. So in some sense, I think that that'll raise the labor market for their competitors, too, and those costs will go up for their competitors as well.
I mean, you look at the deal, the part-time workers, $21 per hour immediately. That's a fantastic deal. I'm surprised to learn that FedEx and Amazon Prime deliverers are not unionized. They're independent contractors, or considered independent contractors, which is and I know this in our business, sometimes we're independent contractors if it's not a union shop. And I think that's better for the employees because it certainly doesn't really benefit the workers. Do you think that FedEx and Amazon Prime will look at this deal and say, hey, let's get in?
I don't think they'll do that without a real push, and perhaps the Teamsters will move forward with sustained organizing efforts there. But to your bigger point, to be labeled an independent contractor not only affects your pay, but these folks deliver packages, and we've seen them lugging around heavy packages, whoever the carrier is. If an independent contractor gets injured on the job, it's on their dime to get medical treatment. If they're an employee, as UPS workers are, they're covered by workers' compensation. And furthermore, UPS offers both part-timers and full-timers health insurance and pension benefits. So this really highlights a big divide between independent contracting or gig workers and, as they're sometimes called, and actual employees.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question just because you mentioned that $100,000 tag for those older workers that have been around a while. This is a tiered kind of thing, right? New hires don't start at that high rate. And you can mention that because you mentioned they're hiring.
That's correct. So if you want to get a job with UPS, don't expect $50 an hour at the start. But it really keeps people in the game for a long, long time instead of turning over. And again, this is they'll just build off of this. The Teamsters went on strike about 25 years ago, and that set the foundation for this. The two-tier element is interesting to look at. That has rippled through the economy. We have haves and have-nots working side by side, and this addresses that phenomenon to some degree.
Yeah, look, I'm a capitalist, and I believe that if you're making money fairly and legally, that maybe we talk too much about the wide disparity between the people running the company and those that work. However, we cannot forget that when consumers make dramatically less and prices go up, there's less consumption and the economy is affected overall. It's a basic economic principle, and that's why the economic disparity is, in principle itself, a problem that continues to go on. So let me shift to SAG here. I am a member of the SAG after union, as we all are. And this is mostly about streaming rights. And a lot of people go, actors. actors need more money for. The vast majority of people who are union members at SAG-AFTRA eke out a living. The vast majority. And are hoping for their big break, or they're maybe,
right,
did something in the past and they're keeping it alive for insurance purposes, whatever the case may be. But streaming rights, this goes back to how screwed up the record deals were when the record contract started to come apart, and how upside down it was, where artists weren't making any money. What is that state of business going to look like? And the SAG-AFTRA deal, is it going to get done? I mean, the Writers Guild, they've been out for a couple of months now.
Well, they will get a deal done, and technology is driving this disruptive change. And so the expired contracts for the writers and the actors really covered a period in time where we had TV shows were predominant, meaning they were produced by a TV studio. They were put into reruns, and movies were distributed through DVDs and things of that nature. Now, with streaming services, the streamers, the Netflix and Amazons, they produce the movie, they show it to subscribers, and it's broken down to compensation for what are called residuals, and that means the repeat view, the repeat showing. And so over time, compensation for, as you pointed out, actors, the ordinary SAG member, the average is about $47,000 a year is what they make. Many of them wait tables, and they're looking for their big break. So in some sense, they're a lot like minor league ball players. I mean, they're double A, single A, triple A, and they're looking for that big jump. Most are not going to make it. So SAG is out there trying to look out for the person at the bottom of the rung, and it's not the A-listers who are really they're going to be fine one way or another.
Professor, you talked about, when we talked about the deal with UPS and the big $21 an hour for the part-timers. We are always talking about minimum wage across the country. Because of this, and obviously it's a union deal, will that affect the jobs in America, like this minimum wage?
I think it will. I mean, so in some sense, what's going on here is that the bar is being raised. Now, interesting to note, we have not seen an increase in the federal minimum wage, which is at $7.25 since 2009. States and municipalities, many have raised those rates, but not all. So when you've got the Teamsters, the part-time workers coming in at the top end, $21, that's for people in Mississippi as well as Chicago or San Francisco. $21 an hour sounds great if you're in, Arkansas. In Chicago, that's not the same kind of money.
Right.
As we go forward with this, since we seem to be in strike season, are we going to see more?
Well, the UAW is making noises that they're prepared to strike, and their contract is up in early September. So we will see. I mean, I don't make predictions because I'm typically wrong. I would have thought that we would have at least a short-term strike, and the Teamsters would have gone for the last nickel if they went out for a day or two. And I should note that the reporting this morning is a little different than the reporting late yesterday. Now there are people stepping forward who are union members saying it's not good enough. Well, the union will have a ratification vote. There are 360,000 people in this so-called bargaining unit, and they'll have the final say. But my mind goes back to what happened with the rail strike almost strike. And the long story short is there were several unions involved. The big unions approved it. A couple of small unions did not, and that held up the whole deal, and we came very close to having really a catastrophic strike for the economy. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. To your point, it is strike season. Unions have come back strong, and we have to take it one day at a time here.
Professor, you're terrific. We appreciate your help and the clarity on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so there you go. He's great.
He's great.
Michael LeRoy, alumni, professor, School of Labor and Employment Relations in the College of Law at the U of I.